Alright, class. Before I go into the foliage part of the landscape tutorial, I wanted to step back and create a material from nothing. Let's create a material folder. Right click, create new material, name it whatever you want. I think I'll name it My Concrete, because maybe that's what it'll be. This is a master material, so I'm going to do an M underscore at the beginning and then pop it open. Now you'll see it's completely empty. Over here is what it looks like now with no features modified. If we change the base color, for example, you'll see immediately once it calculates, that's what the shader or material looks like. I'm going to right click and promote to parameter. Now we have a parameter which will get passed down into the material instance. We can make that any color we want in here just to see. And you can see that that will now be what controls base color. I'm going to set metallic to 0 because it won't be metallic. Roughness is at 0.5. Let's make that 1. Might want to make that a parameter as well. Yeah, right click, promote to parameter. Now we have a roughness parameter. And if I look at it, I'm thinking it isn't rough enough. So let's make that all the way to 1 for now. So it's rough and blue. Now normals. Just to begin to show you how this works, let's open a texture sample. There we go. Texture sample node. And we're going to plug that directly into the normal map slot. It'll be looking for a normal map. Now you may not have the ones I have. There will be some in your folder somewhere. I'm just going to find one called Dirt. It's a normal map. And you can see that that is now applying that bump normal to the blue color. And we can still modify the base color at any time. Change a little bit, maybe make it a little darker dirt color. So we're going to go with dirt instead of concrete, apparently. And it's still got some specular shininess that I might want to get rid of. I'm going to reduce that to 0.2. But now we can go in. We can drag the master concrete, or M material, in there, and you'll see what it looks like. So we've added a color and a normal map to it. But remember, we need to create a material instance. It's generally a good idea to use the instance instead of the master, even if you create it yourself. We did have that happening before because those were files that came from the engine folder. But even though we do that, this is still good practice. And so I named it mi underscore my concrete. And now it looks like what you're familiar with from the landscape material. This is all of our parameters. The two we promoted right there, roughness and base color, have been passed to the material instance. Now you can see it automatically changes everything. It is quite a bit faster than modifying the file in the as a master material, and updates very quickly. So that we have that working, let's see if we can make this cooler. I'm going to go back into the master material. So we'll be going back and forth between the master and the instance. Now I'm going to copy this and paste it again. Now those are just colors. It literally is just what is called a vector 3, which means it's got 3 values, R, G, B, And so when you create a vector 3 or any kind of a 3 variable constant, it usually is represented as a color. I'm going to make this one green. And now I just wanted to show you that we can blend 2 colors together and create some variation in color even without using a texture map. So I'm going to use a lerp mode. Lerp means linear interpolation. Interpolate between two things using an alpha, meaning, the alpha says, how should I blend those? Right now it's set to 0.5, which means it's an exact blend exactly midway between those two colors. But what if I took a texture map like this? Let me find one that's noise. I just copied and pasted the normal map. We're going to grab a Perlin noise. Perfect. That'll work perfect. And the Perlin noise, I feed into the alpha of the lerp. And so now instead of just being 0.5, which would be a blend between brown and green, now we will get a modeled, kind of like a Photoshop Gaussian noise between two colors, right? And they're very pale at the moment because I haven't really adjusted it. One of the things I'm thinking, looking at that Perlin noise texture, is that it's really pale. I may want to be able to create a bias value or a contrast. So I'm going to type contrast. There's one called cheap contrast. So let's use cheap contrast. I'm going to feed the noise into cheap contrast, then into the alpha. Now, this contrast value here, which I will promote to a parameter, so that's going to get passed to the material instance, I can make that, whatever, 0.5. How about we say 2? Yeah, so if you look to the left, you can see the colors are more intense at 2, and they're reversed if I go to -2. So I'm going to make the minimum -2, max +2 over here on the left. And now I'm going to change it to bias, because that's really what I was thinking this would be. The contrast function is just operating like a bias control. Now, if we go in, our material instance will now have a bias variable. There it is, right there. Turn it on. If we go to the right, we'll see what happens. If we go to the left, they invert. So that's a kind of a cool little texture creator system using noise. And that can do many things. I will show you later. For now, though, I think I want to make that color, modeled color that we just did, blend together with another texture, the dirt color texture that normal is based on. So what if we, right now I just copied the noise texture, but I can go in and find the original one and multiply it. So I'm going to get a multiply node, and then I will connect the texture sample to multiply node, and the output of the linear interpolation. So now the linear interpolation will be multiplied by the whatever is in the top texture sample. Now let me type dirt again. There's the one we used for the normal. Here's the one is color. So that is the matching color map for the bumps that we were seeing. And so now that one right there is the diffuse map. I think, and this is what it looks like. You can see that they match. You see the bumps match. And here, yeah, I can still control the bias between those colors. We've still got roughness control, and we've got the base colors, which we can alter anytime we want. But one thing I need to do is probably make these texture samples real parameters. Because right now you can't choose the texture inside the material instance. Right click, convert to parameter. I'm going to call this diffuse map. Yeah, that'll work. And name the other one normal map. So right click, convert to parameter, normal map. And this one over here, I'll convert that to a parameter too, in case we want to change to a different noise. I'll just call it noise map. Awesome. Okay, now let's take a look. Those will now appear under global texture parameter values. And there they are, the 3 textures. Just like the textures we could select in the auto landscape material. And so you can select anything you want. That's why I said I'm just picking something random. You can pick something random and then modify it anytime you want. So now we've got a diffuse texture and a normal map with a cool modeled color tinting system and a bias control. And we're literally making this up as we go. Like right now when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, it's a little too shiny, it's a little too this, a little too that. But one of the things that's going to happen is we need to be able to tile that texture like you are used to doing in Blender. So a texture coordinate like this has U tiling, V tiling, mirroring, that kind of thing. The kind of thing you're used to seeing all the time in a 3D app like Blender. Plug it into the UVs like this. And because the diffuse texture and normal map texture were companions, the normal and the diffuse texture tiling should be the same. Now to test that this is working, let me just type 2 into those numbers and you can see that it's doubled. So now it's 2 tiles twice in U and twice in V. I'm just going to set it back. Oh no, let's see here. Yep. Okay, so now it's tiling 10 times in U. But let me go back to 1 and 1 to demonstrate something. So you'll see it go back to its default. Now I can plug that in to the normal map as well by plugging it in to the UV input of the normal map. I'm not going to plug it into the noise because the noise was not connected. Noise is a separate thing. We don't want to play with that separately. But now the UVs are controlling both of those simultaneously. Now to see that it works, let's fly through the ground. Plus it has to be applied and everything before you go in there. But when I apply it, now we see it controls the tiling for both texture and normals. I'm going to reduce the specular again because it's still really shiny at that resolution. Wow. Now we need a little bit. We need a little bit of specular. Maybe not 0.2. Maybe just like 0.1. We try 0.1. Yeah. That'll give us a little shine, but not too bad. Okay. So the next piece of the puzzle is we can't convert the texture coordinate to a parameter. Not by itself. It doesn't allow you to do that. So the texture coordinate U and V tiling aren't going to appear in here. If we go in and right click the texture coordinate node, it will not show up correctly. It won't even let you. If you go over here and try to right click it, it doesn't let you do it. So the way to do that is to create scalar value. You can't even right click U and V. You go in and click a scalar, S-C-A-L-A-R parameter. All that is a single floating point number that can be changed. That's what scalar is referring to. I'm going to copy it and paste it. First one's called U tiling, so I need to change it to V tiling. You can do it over here on the left if you want, because you've got it selected, and that's the details window. So now it's U tiling and V tiling. I can't feed those directly in to the texture coordinate. It's a different kind of expression node. But we have something called append vector. And all that does is create a double vector from two singles. So if I go over here and multiply my appended U and V to the output of the texture coordinate, it makes that U and V parameter control the texture coordinate by multiplying. I think they just need to fix that. It's kind of awkward, isn't it, that we have to do it this way? But I wanted to demonstrate something that wasn't just going to work for you automatically. There's a lot of ways we could have done this, but this is the smartest way, is to use the append to create a parameter that you need. And the append allows you to work there's a lot of different ways of doing this. The commands that come up when I right click anywhere, and I'm just randomly straightening this out. Those commands, anytime we right click, there's thousands. You'll never want to read a book about them all. You can't find them. You have to kind of know they're there. But like when I typed contrast, I didn't know we were going to get anything. But now we go in here and you'll see we have U tiling, V tiling, and I'm going to type in 4 for each one of those. And look, you can see that the texture and the normal maps are repeating 4 times in both directions automatically, and it's all being handled by the material instance, which means it's much faster. And just like what we did before, if you borrow a master material from the engine folder, just duplicate it. Copy it to your own My Materials folder, call it My Master Material, and then do what we're doing here. And I'll just demonstrate that you can change these colors. So it'll making them a little bit more saturated but lighter. And I'm playing with the controls I add. I think the normal map's a little too, the tiling is a little bit too high. Let's bring it down to 2.5. I don't know. It's better. And I'm making this up as I go. Whoops. Yeah, sorry. And so I'm going to probably reduce this again. But all of these controls are live, and we have a lot of functionality here now that we've done it. And I'm doing this for absolutely no reason other than I wanted to create a material bottom up with you before I demonstrated to you exactly how amazingly powerful this really is. I think you guys are going to find a lot of fun, artistic and magical once we get started. And so I just wanted to do it here on something in the scene we were actually working on, and see, look, you can go in here and change it to anything you want. You can pick your own diffuse map. You can paint your own in Photoshop and, copy the PNG file in there. So I'm switching it to grass and the normals for grass, like that. And there's a lot of things we can do. You're limited only by your imagination here. But say we make it a little darker, and say once I set that value, I'll go into the other value. Let's see here. Wait a minute. So if I take the output that's going to the base color and add a desaturation node by right-clicking. Then we can promote the parameter here and call it desaturation. And once we have that connected, that will be passed to the material instance. And we have one final useful parameter that we've created ourselves on the spur of the moment for texturing this geo to match roughly the textures below, even though those are completely different textures. That's not the same texture library. I just used the desaturation and blending and combination tinting to make it work. And so there we are.